Hello Nippies, welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, hi, hello, I'm Nips, a freelance artist, and today we're going to be working on another portrait for the Player of the Month series for Team Liquid. And if you don't know anything of what I just said, it is a series that a gaming company, esports gaming company, does every month for one of their content creators. They make an article, they feature them, talk about them, and I normally do the portraits for these articles. It's usually the player, the content creator, etc., mixed in with some sort of gaming element. I'll go ahead and I'll link some of the ones that I've already done down below. I have a video, a Speedpaint video on a couple of them. Maybe I'll flash some up on the screen, I don't know. But today's personality is AverageJonas, who is a YouTuber and now turned content creator for Team Liquid that focuses on Apex and Valorant. I have never played Valorant, so I had to do a little bit of watching some gameplay. And apparently AverageJonas really likes to play Sova. That was what was requested that I do. And normally when I do these, I try my best to do kind of like a healthy mixing of the personality and the character. I think one of the things with this one is that I might have gone a little too far with the mixing. So we'll see. For those of you that don't know my process, normally I start off with my sketch layers, my very rough thumbnails, which was the teal kind of iteration before this. And now I'm working on something called an S2, which for those of you that don't know how I work, I normally have my original sketch layer, which is like the thumbnail composition kind of sketch, and then my S2s are normally my hashed out more detailed sketch. That's kind of what I'm working on here. And something that I have always mentioned on this channel, and I'm pretty sure you guys are tired of hearing it, is how bad I am at drawing weapons, armor, sometimes even clothing as well. And for this specific drawing, because Sova has a bow and arrow and it just looks so cool, it has like neon parts, just a lot of things of Sova's character design just look really cool. So I feel like I might have gotten a little ambitious with putting it in the forefront, even though I suck really hard at drawing weapons. As far as the initial sketch goes, I was pretty proud of how it looked, and I guess we'll talk about later kind of the method that I try to do to overcome this, even though I've talked about it before. So I start up on the lines, and if you've seen any of the other ones that I've done for this, I normally try to keep these at a refined level. Like, they're definitely not a sketch, but they're also, I try not to make them super polished either. I guess what I mean by that is, like, if you look at them, I try not to shade too much. I think with the last two that I did, which are the ones that coincidentally that I have the speed paints on, I think I might have overdone it a little bit with those, but normally the ones before that don't have a lot of shading. And I think with this one, I might have taken it too far. And I'm not entirely sure that I'm super happy with how I executed everything. Normally when I do a series of drawings, when I'm hired to do a series of drawings, not just like all in one go, but even over time, I try to have like an outline in my head, a bullet point kind of like list of what the style entails, just for the sake of consistency and to make sure that they obviously all belong together, like they look aesthetically pleasing all together. And I try to account for me hopefully improving over time. So even if I do improve, I try my best to still adhere to like the basic outline so it still looks consistent with the other drawings. But I feel like with this one, I might have pushed the outlines a little bit too much. And not only did I push it, but I don't think that it looked that good with that much pushing. So I can't tell if this one next to the other ones even looks like it belongs with the other ones, but I don't know. We'll see. Maybe you guys will disagree when you see the finished product. Here is what I was going to talk about earlier. So you'll notice that I blocked out the bow and arrows shape with solid colors. And this is something that I've talked about several times, either in my videos or on stream, which is if I'm bad at something, the easiest way for me to sketch it out would be to just block colors. And normally the things that I use this technique for that I'm very, very bad at are weapons, armor, sometimes clothing, definitely backgrounds. I feel like I just listed everything that wasn't people, so we're not on a good track here. So I definitely did it for the bow and arrow here, and I'm not gonna lie, for how bad at them I am, I feel like I did a very good job of rendering this weapon for my standards. All right, I know some of you in the comments are gonna be, you know, a refined weapon drawing masters, but I am definitely not, and so for me, this is very, very good. I went ahead and added lines, and to be quite honest, also very proud of how I drew the lines. I think one of my problems, even if I do somehow pull it off, is the accuracy. So like I can make random shapes sometimes that will just look like a weapon, but they won't, if there's already a weapon, a sourced weapon, it won't look exactly like it, or it won't look functional. Like if there's no source weapon, it just won't look functional because it'll just be a bunch of random shapes. So yeah, so those are my problems, even if I do manage to pull it off. So with this one, it's not exact, like it definitely does not look like the exact weapon. I definitely also had some trouble trying to find a source, like an accurate source in and of itself, but I feel like it's close enough that you can still tell it's like Sova's weapon. So here you'll see me start doing the lines. Now with the face, I definitely had an issue, and we'll get to that later. But the angle of the face is, I drew it like straight, like it's like facing me, but at the same time, it's like slightly, like not entirely 3/4, but a little bit. You'll notice later I did I did a big oopsie whoopsie later in trying to fix it, and I just kind of like went back to the original iteration. And even when I kind of like sketch it out with the colors, or even just finish the colors period, you'll notice that the like anatomy doesn't really like add up, and I just could not find a way to fix it. And so I ended up, you'll see there that I kind of just map out the face because I'm really stressed out. I'm like, I can't figure out why this face is not working, and it's just not aligned. Like I know it's not aligned. So you'll see that even when I color it, I could not find a way to get it to like look right per se, but I kind of hid it behind all the colors. Now here is where I was talking about. So here I actually go out of my way pretty heavily to try and fix it. And in fact, I go so far in trying to fix it that I end up ruining it. So here you'll see me basically inadvertently turning it into a 3/4 angle, which I just don't like. And I end up taking a screenshot that I had sent Liquid earlier with the face that I did like. And then I ended up just tracing it again to go back to where I was, which the reiteration of the drawing kind of looks better than the original. So I don't know, it took a couple steps, but I guess it kind of looks better. Normally I save a spare. Guys, if you do this, save the spare. Like if you're gonna change it that much. I think in the moment I didn't save a spare because I didn't think I was gonna change it that much, and then I just kind of kept going, and then it was the point of no return. And so that's why that happened. But guys, save a spare. If you're gonna make a lot of changes, just in case, you never know. Here you'll see me just start messing with the rest of the cape. Now, what I was talking about earlier in probably going too far and adding a lot of Sova aesthetics. So normally when I do these portraits, obviously it depends on what the commissioner and what the personality that I'm drawing wants. But normally when I draw these, I try to keep the ratio of personality to character at least like 80-30 maybe. But with this one, I feel like it's like 30-80 if at best. I think it might be like 15, 85. But I think I might have gone too far with the Sova aesthetics. And the reason that I do that is because you want the person to pop out more than the character that you're mixing them with, at least for me. And it's just Sova had so many cool like things to add that I just kind of like kept going. Like for this one, for example, I could have maybe just left him with the jersey without the cape, but the cape looks so cool with like the fur, and then like the scar and the eye, and then like the bow and arrow, and the pants were so cool too. So just like at the end of the day, the only thing that AverageJonas had that was AverageJonas was the jersey, the Team Liquid jersey that's under that is like barely even visible, and then his face, because I even added the earrings too. Like and the logo, I added like his logo onto the cape. But other than that, it's way too much. I think that's one of the things I probably would have toned back had I gone back to fix it and redo it. What you saw there really quick was just like a color sample that I sent to Liquid. Normally I'll do it for myself just to see where the drawing is going, but because the line art isn't even close to done, I would not normally do that for myself at that stage. I'll usually just wait for me to do the flats, and then I'll do it. Or I'll do it in the sketch layer, not really in between. The reason I did it there was because I had already spent a lot of time on the lines, and I just wanted to show them a little bit of progress just so they can kind of get an idea of where I was. So I try to send them like regular updates so they more or less know where I am, and so they can give me feedback without me going like too far into the drawing. Here you'll see me just finishing up the lines. I think I had a huge issue with where I positioned the bow and arrow and how I drew the pose. So the way that I drew the pose, he can't technically grab the bow and arrow like he's like supposed to. Like he can't fully grip it. So I had to do this like sideways, like it's almost like flinging off him, but he's like kind of holding on to it. I can't tell if it's gonna look really bad. Like I'm so used to looking at it now because I spent so much time on this, and I can't tell if I just like, I don't like it. I feel like you can kind of tell that he's not supposed to be holding it like that, but he's only holding it like that because he like let go of the string, and like the bow, like the arrow is going to be motion blurred and stuff. So he's kind of like in the released stage of that. So I can't tell, but I wish that he would have been gripping the thing a little bit more, you know, which would have probably entailed either me switching his body angle or switching the bow and arrow's body angle. But I think either at this point or the point that I noticed it, it was already like, I was already too far in. And what sucks is that with these, I do not have the luxury of time. So a lot of the times, even if I see something that I could probably fix, if the fixing takes too long, I can't go back. Like I actually have to find a way to fix it within the context of like where I am. Part of me was just like, okay, we're leaving it like this. We've already line arted the bow, like did a lot of like flat colors and stuff. Like I am not going back here. Like we got to find a way to make it work. Here you'll see me just finishing all of that up, trying to add some cool things in the back, like the cape flowing. I separated everything by layer, by object, really trying to make sure that everything looks good, but separated in its own layers. So I can go back and fix each individual thing if I really need to. There were a lot of individual elements here that kind of interacted with each other. And normally when I do these, I don't separate them too much. But for this drawing, I did make like a big effort into separating the parts of the picture into different layers and masking layers and groups and stuff, because there was just so much going on that I didn't want to overlap. Like just like the cape in the back, for example, the arrow and the bow, and like I have the bow and the arrow on two different sections. So then here you'll see me just start adding the flat colors. I went ahead and I gave him the Team Liquid jersey that is for the people who play shooters, which I accidentally did for the last two players, which were Hearthstone players, not shooter players. So that one was an accident that we found out later when I was already done with the drawings. But here it's appropriate because he plays Apex, Valorant, etc. So you'll see me start doing the flats here. And now that I'm looking at this, I honestly, like, I'm wondering if they already used the drawing, because I kind of want to go back and fix, you guys will see it at the end, but I kind of want to go fix like the saturation and the values of the drawing, because the values of the drawing, the finished drawing, are way, like, they're not like correct. Like it's way too saturated and way too like dark. Like it doesn't look nice. Like right here, the flats actually look so much nicer than the finished product. And now I am like having like some very impulsive regrets where I just want to like stop voicing this and then go to fix it so I can be like, hey, did you guys use that already? Please, please let me fix it. So yeah, so I might actually do that once I'm done with this. So the speed paint will be of the initial version if I somehow can talk to them and they haven't used it yet. normally when I do these, I try my best to not do like severe rim lighting. There are some where I did it because like the composition like called for it and it looks nice in that context. But in general, I try my best to make it like a spotlight situation where like you can really see the players, like, because these articles are supposed to be like a highlight to the player, you know? So I don't want to put them too much in darkness because then they kind of like blend into the background, or the text ends up being more the focus than the drawing. Not that I want the drawing to take away from the text, but I just don't want the drawing to like blend into the background. So with this one, I was struggling finding like a good midway point, because if I made it too light, the bow and arrow wouldn't look as cool. But yeah, so I found it kind of difficult to find a good midway point where like the bow and arrow would like stick out but wouldn't be the focus, and then that he would be in a spotlight but not too light where the bow and arrow wouldn't look cool. So that was a huge issue. And then on top of that was the regret that I was talking about earlier in the voiceover, which is the power on the arrow. So if you've played Valorant, at least from what I've seen from some of the gameplay footage, is that the arrows have like this like energy around them. It's like blue and like glowy, and it looks super pretty, especially like when you throw it. And the reason I didn't include it was because I felt like it would skew the drawing way too much to the right, and I didn't want like to throw the picture off balance. Not only that, but the drawing was already big. Normally when I do these, I try my best to not make them super big. Like the last two that I did, also a little bit too big. But this one I knew that if I added the glow, it was gonna be like too wide. Oh my God, the values on this drawing like look so much better here. You'll see that the finished product just doesn't look this good. I am like actually having such deep regret right now. And I hope that once we get to the end of this video, you guys will see exactly what I'm talking about. And we're almost there. But guys, when I tell you sometimes, this is why, because when I did this, I did not put it down to like finish it. I remember I did the last part of this, like I did like a sprint, like I sprinted the last part. Well, not sprinted because that implies rushing, but I did it without like stopping. And sometimes you have to like sleep on it because you'll come back to it the next day, or you know, after a nap or whatever, and then you'll realize things that you didn't realize that you were working on because you were already working on it for so much. Like your eyes do need a break. What happens to me, and this is what I was talking about earlier, where I just don't have the luxury of time, and sometimes I cannot sleep on it. Like I physically cannot, because I will miss the deadline, and so I just have to keep going. And what happens with me normally when I keep going and I don't stop is the colors. Usually it's the colors that get messed up, or the proportions. So the colors sometimes, for me, I'm not like, my color theory is not very good. And so a lot of the times I'm just winging it. And if I look at a piece for too long, the colors will start to normalize themselves in my head and I don't see how off they are, whether it be the colors or the values. Normally the values. In this piece, I think the values are off and the saturation is off as well. So that is like a big thing for me specifically. With the rest, I know some people don't struggle with that as much, and I know if they do struggle with it, it's not always the colors or the values. But yeah, this, I think you'll see as it goes on and after you see the finished product, hopefully what I mean by the values and the colors are just off. Here you'll see me just kind of like messing with it a bit, trying to get it to like its finished state. I've already merged the whole thing. So even if I went back to go fix this, I would have to like reverse engineer like the values and kind of like edit just the whole layer and probably like copy paste some of the layers before it so that I can like wash out the colors a little bit, make it a little bit lighter. But this for sure like I took it a little too far. Like the colors are super, super dark, way too saturated in parts where they should be desaturated. And there was just, I like took it too far. And hopefully you guys see it now, because at this point is already kind of what I'm talking about. But a couple steps earlier, like it looked nice. Like it didn't look this like dark. You could see the colors more clearly. It wasn't super overwhelming. I think here I just went so far with like the highlights, the color burning. And I feel like part of me here is like noticing that a little bit. Not like the entirety of it. I'm just like trying to find gradient maps to make it feel like they all the colors belong together. But I didn't realize that the actual problem was that the values were off. Other than that, I am still very proud of this piece insofar as like everything that I've learned from it. But in general, I do wish I would have fixed all the things that I talked about. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, enjoyed the commentary. Let me know what you guys thought down below. Like the video if you like the video. Subscribe, join the Nippy family. The more, the merrier. I know it's been a while since I've made a video. For those of you that are new here, I normally upload on Sundays, but I'm currently on hiatus. And those of you that don't know why I'm on hiatus, I have an 18+ comic called Offsell. It is cringe, it is 18+. But if you're interested, I will leave the links below. And I am on hiatus, but I have a private Twitter where I am updating all the comic art, the panels, the pages, the concept art, everything all the time. That's where I am full time. I took this last week off to finish a commission that I had, but other than that, that is where I am full time. And how to get access to that Twitter, I will link down below as well. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and I will see you guys next video. Bye.